Alright guys, welcome back. GM Light here. Today we're going to be talking about the third in this little Evil Dead trilogy, Army of Darkness. So you pretty much pick up where you left off at the end of Evil Dead 2. Ash is blasted into the past, and now he's dealing with a whole slew of other problems, deadites, and an evil version of himself. There's just a lot in this movie. It packs a whole lot in this 80 minutes. And this is a movie that I just enjoy the shit out of, but it's weird because some of the stuff that I really like about it is also some of the stuff that I feel a little bit more conflicted about. I think that Ash is at his best in this movie. He's at his funniest, his wittiest. He kicks the most ass. The action with him has never been better, and I get such a kick out of him being this gruff, politically incorrect asshole from the future, and the dynamics that creates with him and the people from the past. But that kind of comes to where I feel a little bit more conflicted because I feel like this is a better Ash movie than an Evil Dead movie, if that makes any sense. This is the most Ash movie of the trilogy. He's just at his absolute best here. He's at his funniest, like I said. And this movie is all about his character. But conversely, that kind of makes a takeaway from the horror. Sometimes because he is the way that he is, and when he's the most himself, it kind of takes away from the horror of this. I'd even hesitate to kind of classify horror as even the fourth genre that this movie is. It feels more like an action, comedy, adventure before it is a horror movie. It just has some imagery and skeletons and stuff that kind of classify it a little bit as horror, but that's really not the focus at all of this movie. This is a journey. This is about Ash as a hero, and that's where it works the best. So more through that lens of an action comedy, it works extremely well for me, but as a horror movie, it really doesn't work for me. Especially not as like an Evil Dead movie. You don't have that horror, that emotional manipulation that comes with flesh-possessing demons taking over your loved ones. And this movie isn't trying to be that. It's not trying to be scary. Whereas Evil Dead's the horror and Army of Darkness is the full-on comedy. Evil Dead 2 was that middle ground between the two, that kind of transitional period. This is where it's all out, all comedy, all Ash. Him at his most personality driven and funny. But what I think works a little bit better to this movie's advantage than in Evil Dead 2, I feel like Evil Dead 2 didn't fully commit to a tone. I don't think it knew as much what it precisely wanted to be. It knew that it wanted to be a more goofy, lighthearted version of that original movie, but it didn't really stick with one tone or the other. It was kind of riding a fine line between them. This one goes all out on that, gives Ash all the personality, all the spotlight. The deadites don't hold a candle to him in this movie. He also has some of his best lines in this movie, like, "This is my boomstick." Alright, you primitive screwheads. All of that stuff from this movie is perfect and I love it. Even at the ending, which, I mean, spoilers if you haven't seen this 30-year-old movie, but when he's at the end in the convenience store, just all of that is just perfect. Puts a smile on my face every time. But that's the core of this movie. It is an action movie and it's a comedy movie. It's not horror. I just try not to view it through that lens because then I appreciate it a lot more. On no level does it really work as a horror movie. And it's kind of jarring when you look at the first movie and you look at this movie where it's like, okay, these are totally different things, but it makes a little bit more sense with that middle transitional period of Evil Dead 2. Overall, though, at the very least, the fact that this movie is the way that it is, it provides a really unique experience in terms of this franchise. You're never really going to get two of the same thing from any two of these movies. The action's also just way ramped up in this movie. I love Evil Ash, and the fact that he gives Ash somebody more tangible to fight. At the end, it's very exciting to just see him go mano-a-mano with this character. And everything about the battle is so much more grand than anything that they've done previously. And without the credits, this movie is an hour and 15 minutes long, probably even less with the amount of time that they take recapping the last movie. So it's a very easy, breezy watch, very short, and it packs a lot into this short runtime. It's extremely entertaining, very much driven by the character of Ash, where I feel he was at his best that he's ever been. And if you don't view it through the lens of horror, if you just watch it kind of on its own merits, I think that anyone would have an absolute blast with this movie. Raimi's also just, you could tell that he loved making this movie with his friend. There's a bigger display of his talent, and it shows that Raimi's capable of more than just small-scale horror in a cabin. He could do these large action set pieces. He could direct these larger than life heroic characters. So overall, I really enjoy Army of Darkness. I'm a huge fan of this as well. Although it doesn't work for me as an Evil Dead movie, it definitely works for me as an Ash movie. And those might seem kind of contradictory because Ash and Evil Dead are intrinsically intertwined, but I'm talking about more of the horror aspects of Evil Dead, because what I look for in an Evil Dead movie is the disturbing body horror and the emotional manipulation. And since that doesn't provide that, I don't really view it as much of an Evil Dead movie. It's very Ash-centric, it's very character-centric, and it's about him and his adventure. So Army of Darkness, let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'd love to hear your opinions on this movie. Now all we have is the remake. Have a good one.